Don't lodge your tax return yet. Well, definitely don't lodge it until you've watched this video and make sure you've checked off every single thing I talk about, especially if it's prior to 14th of July. I'm also going to talk to you about when you'd expect to see your refund. Now, my reason for saying don't lodge your tax return yet is because you might not actually have all the information, and this was on the ATO hit list for this year, is people lodging earlier and getting it wrong. They're coming after you. Now, why do I say the 14th of July? Well, it's because employers have until the 14th of July to make your income tax ready. So you need to wait until you see that tax ready mark on your income before lodging your tax return. You need to wait for all of your employers to mark it as tax ready. And that's because until it's tax ready, the information isn't finalized. Maybe they haven't processed the last financial year pay run for you, or maybe you have got fringe benefits and they're not on there yet. You need to wait until it's tax ready to lodge. I tell my clients this all the time, just be patient, wait. Now, if it gets to the 14th of July and your employer still hasn't marked it as tax ready, have a chat to them, find out what is going on. They might have forgot they need to do it, especially if it's a small employer. If they're still not doing it, you can speak to the ATO or speak to your tax agent about whether you've got the confidence to lodge with an unfinalized income. Now, this tax ready system did replace the payment summaries or the group certificates, even older statement there. So you won't get those from your employer anymore. This is how it all works. It's called an income statement. Like I said, look for the tax ready logo. You also need to wait until all of your income is actually available. So we ticked off the tax ready for our employment income, but have we got our bank interest on there? Interest rates have been going up, which means people's bank interest has actually been going up, and therefore it's going to have an impact on your tax return. Do you hold shares that give out dividends? Well, you need to make sure you've got that information, especially if you're maybe holding investments like ETFs. Those can lag a little bit when it comes to providing their tax information, and you need the tax statement from them to be able to do it. Have you got a rental property, and have you actually got the final statement for the year? Have you got all that information? If you've got income, you need to wait until you've got it all to include. Now, this does include government payments. The ATO get that information pretty quickly from Centrelink, but you need to, one, verify it's actually on there, and two, it is actually correct. I have seen situations where it hasn't been on there, so make sure you find out, is all of your income available? Now, if you run a business, there might be other things that you need to wait on before you can get your return done. Again, you want to get these things right, because if you get them wrong, you run the risk that, one, it just delays the lodgement of your return, which we'll talk about soon. But also, you could then be deemed as getting your return wrong and having to pay back money, potentially getting fined with interest on top of it. Now, something else you can do to make sure you're ticking all of these boxes off is use a tax agent. And of course, I'm going to plug my services at Rooshock Accounting, my tax agent business. We're taking bookings. Things get pretty busy this time of the year. So if you want your return, reach out to us and we will tell you the best way to go about getting your return done. And we will, of course, make sure that you're ticking all these boxes when it comes to including the correct things within your tax return. Now, let's talk refunds. That's what everyone wants at tax time. Everyone wants that juicy tax check. But when can you expect them? What actually happens? So if you're lodging super early, don't expect your refund super quick. These things take time, and typically, I wouldn't say most refunds start flowing until around mid-July, even if you've lodged on the 1st of July. So just be aware of that. You typically can go into your MyGov account and look into your tax statement and see what the effective date of the return is, and then give or take a day or two, depending on bank transfer times. Now, if your return gets held up, there could be multiple reasons why that's the case. Typically, it's going to be to do with income being omitted, like what we've just talked about in this video, or it could be due to the ATO flagging it for something. Maybe your deductions are higher than average, or maybe it's just been caught up in the system. Unfortunately, the ATO do allow themselves a 28-day processing time before you can even inquire about your return. So if it's in that time period, you just have to sit and be patient. Now, refunds are processed pretty quickly once they start flowing through. And typically, I actually find most returns get their refund back within about a week of lodging. So there isn't this super rush to go and get it done in the first few days of July, because you're going to get your refund pretty quickly. So if you lodge, say, on the 20th of July, you're probably going to expect it before the end of July. So I think some people think that they've got to get in super early because it's going to take a long time to process, but that doesn't seem to be the case these days. But like I said, they do allow themselves 28 days before you can even inquire. So don't have the expectation it's going to come back the next day. At the end of the day, you don't want to rush and get your return wrong. Your main focus should be on maximizing your return by getting it done accurately. Now, of course, this year I did drop my how to maximize your tax return video again. You'll see it coming up here. This is my favorite video to do every single year because it helps all of you guys maximize a return. If you haven't already watched it, I'd love to see you over there.